So, hello everyone, this is Djuntas, and today I'm gonna benchmark my new system. So this 7800X 3D CPU, very hyped, very hyped, for sure. But I would say it's about as good as the hype, or at least close to it. The highlights, of course, its efficiency. It's literally never gonna pull more than 65 watts in gaming. And what does that mean? It means that it's easily cooled. Right now I'm running on an NSG 15 Noctua cooler. That's probably overkill. You could probably buy something even cheaper. This cooler is definitely never gonna be stressed. Even in Cinebench R23, it's not thermal throttling or anything, with a pretty high ambient temperature right now in the summer. So I'm very pleased with the efficiency of the CPU, and that is definitely the highlight. But let's look at some settings here on World of Warcraft. And first a little note, I'm running with 162 add-ons right now enabled on a really old backup of World of Warcraft with WTF cache folders that are maybe a bit corrupt and everything. But I'm here to tell you that add-ons does not matter on such a high-end system. Even if I disable my add-ons, I'm not gonna see a better performance. I'm also running, well, OBS at the moment and a few other applications in the background. So this would be a typical use case of World of Warcraft, where you have things running in the background and everything. The RAM is also 5600 MHz, so it's not the highest speed that you could get. I'm also on the latest BIOS and everything on an ASUS motherboard. So yeah, that was fun. Stressing with BIOS updates and everything, but yeah, everything is working as it should now. Anyways, the CPU is great. There's not much more to say about that, so let's focus on some benchmarks here in World of Warcraft. So everything is maxed right now without ray tracing, and I'm standing on the stairs in the Valdrakken, as most people do here on YouTube to test it, because wow, Valdrakken is very poorly optimized. And I'm just gonna quickly show with ray tracing first. And as soon as I put on ray tracing, I'm hitting like 60 FPS at the most. Pretty okay, a decent amount of people are around right now, so it's a good time to benchmark it. Yeah, ray tracing doesn't really change the look that much in WoW, so I usually just keep it off. But 60 FPS with ray tracing in Valdrakken, with quite a few people around. And without ray tracing, I'm hitting maybe 75 FPS, 75 right now at least, but mostly like 65. And let's walk down the stairs, so it's a bit less demanding when you move from the stairs. If there are less people around, I've seen as much as 105 FPS, but mostly it's 80 down by the fountain. Overall, Valdrakken is actually a very good place to benchmark your system. It's a bit funny because, yeah, you know that no YouTubers, tech YouTubers, are really benchmarking World of Warcraft, because it's just very hard to get consistent results. But honestly, Valdrakken is probably as good as it's going to be for getting consistent results in World of Warcraft if you did want to benchmark it. So yeah, 95 FPS there when I'm moving the camera around a little bit. So another way you can also test in World of Warcraft, just take a flight path and run it a few times over. So I've done this Garden Shrine to Valdrasus a few times, and it's actually a pretty good place to just fly forth and back, because it's so, yeah, you get the distance scaling everything of the environment and so on, because you're so high up, so you can really see a lot of the world. And yeah, the scenery is pretty good as well. So here I'm usually, yeah, besides getting these stupid loud exclamations from rares, I'm usually seeing about 100 to 150 FPS. But it's pretty consistent results, just flying up here and down too. So yeah, 100 and so FPS, 120. Another thing that's also just worth mentioning is that if you just go and change just a few of the settings, maybe shadow quality only at high, or CMA or MSA or something like that, just change a few of the settings down to half or so, you really do see a performance gain without changing the looks of the graphics a lot. So I would recommend that. I can also just quickly show hardware monitor open. So again, Noctua NSD 15S, and I'm never really seeing more than 60 degrees in games. Most of the cores are also always hitting 5 GHz. So 8 cores, 5 GHz as advertised. In Cinebench R23, you're gonna get at least 17,000 score with the multi-core test. Maybe if you overclock and tweak it, you can get above like 18,500 or so. But 17,550, that's probably what I hit the last time I did a test. But yeah, 65 watts in gaming, it's just so efficient. Like right now it's pulling 63 watts, and you're never gonna see more than 65 watts. It's just so goddamn efficient. So each core pulls like 5 watts at the worst. It's just so good. This is so efficient, and pair that with a 40 series GPU, you can have your whole system not pulling more than 300 watts. So you get like crazy good gaming performance, productivity and everything, and your system doesn't pull more than 300 watts. What more could you ask for? I'm running a 4070 Ti. It's also undervolted, so I get maybe a little bit of performance downgrade, maybe like 2% or so in games, but in general it's worth undervolting your graphics card, because you really don't see much of a performance loss. Like I can easily play like Cyberpunk on my screen 1440p, all max settings for ray tracing, and see 45 FPS. And that's like incredible for me that you can max out Cyberpunk with ray tracing and at least be able to play it without any upscaling with DLS and so on. And obviously with DLS and ray tracing, even Cyberpunk runs easily at like 100 FPS or whatever. So now in Darnasus, still with no ray tracing enabled and max settings, I'm hitting 200 FPS. I think with a few tweaks, as I mentioned before on the graphics settings, in such an old area that's desolate with no people around, you could easily hit up to 250 to 300 FPS. So that is a very, very nice thing to see. If you're willing to tweak the settings, the graphics settings a little bit, that you can see as much as 300 FPS in World of Warcraft in these lesser demanding areas. And a thing also worth noting is that I don't actually play with uncapped FPS in games. I tend to cap my FPS like 3 FPS below the refresh rate of my screen. So usually when I'm out just grinding in Dragonflight, you know, doing a world quest or whatever, I actually just stay at 165 FPS locked. That's how good the performance actually is, that I'm usually not even dipping below the refresh rate of my screen anyways, even in Dragonflight zones. But yeah, in Darnasus it's definitely not very demanding, so up to 300 FPS here, or at least 200 with maxed settings. And now here in Stormwind, still also max settings, about 120 to 150 FPS flying over Stormwind. Not a lot of people around right now, but yeah, still very good performance. And Stormwind is somewhat demanding when you're just flying over it, so to see 160 FPS, so that 150 right now, 140, 160, it's pretty cool actually. I very much enjoy just to go out to these old zones, and even though again the settings are maxed, you're gonna see such a high FPS number that you really don't feel any lag whatsoever. And I think I just kind of want to end the video with that by saying again, man, it's efficient. This CPU, it's so good. It's easily cooled. It gives you all the performance that you need. And in games that can utilize the cache. So again, it's worth noting that a 13900K, it costs more money than also this 7800 X4D. But maybe like even a 13600K, so that's the i5 13th gen processor of this generation, could actually be better performance than this AMD CPU now, just because they have higher boost frequencies. So that i5 processor boost up to, was it 5.1 GHz on all cores, or at least all the power cores, and not the efficiency cores. So some games that don't really utilize the cache are maybe not going to see such a big performance using this AMD CPU compared to Intel. But in games such as World of Warcraft that can utilize the extra cache, it's such a good value. Also, just another thing is, if you want to save on your energy bill, this CPU is amazing for that. Like Intel pulls 2 to 3 the times the amount of watts. Like the 13600K, that pulls like 150 watts. That's like 2 times as much as mine. So over time, I tend to keep my systems for like 5 to 10 years before I upgrade. So over time, while the 7800 X4D might cost a little bit, you save a lot of money every month just having less juicy CPU taking all your hard-earned cash. So it's very, very nice to just see, it's so efficient. I love that. Easily cooled, and you're not gonna worry about your power bill. That's at least something I care about. So yeah, thanks so much for watching, everyone. If you have any questions regarding the CPU or whatever, feel free to comment about it. I might even think about if you have like a specific thing you would like to see benchmarked, maybe I could try and do that and reply back in the comments or anything like that. So yeah, overall 10 out of 10 CPU. I'm very hyped. I was very hyped about it, but in the end, the hype was justified. So yeah, just awesome. Just awesome. It's so good.